All right, thanks for staying with us in TVC Breakfast. Let's move on now to our second big story. And this time around, we'll be dwelling on sports. Will Nigeria's Super Falcons win their 10th African Women's Championship in Yaoundé, Cameroon? That's a big question.
A very big question, and I'm hoping that they do. Now, let's listen to what some fans feel about the Falcons.
I didn't see 6-0 coming, but I saw a victory coming. But, you know, the more goals there are, the more afraid next opponents will be. So I think it's very good. And I hope they conserved enough energy, because I think at the end they took it easy. I certainly hope so, and I believe so. I think, you know, without sounding conceited, you know, at that level of football, Africa really is not our problem. We need to step up our game.
Africa is not our problem. That's a good one. And he did mention something about them conserving their energy. Do you think we've seen their best so far, or the very best is yet to come? And that, of course, tomorrow.
Against South Africa, I must say it was one of the most impressive performances, even though we didn't get so many goals, because of course the South Africans are no pushovers either. But it was a very,
South Africans have really understood Nigeria. They've played with us so many times.
Yeah, so many times. Very, very big rivalry in women's football, or in football generally in Africa.
But this team, the Super Falcons, conceded only one goal so far in this tournament. Am I correct?
Yes, that is. Yes, one goal against Ghana, that is, yes, so it's impressive. Yes, it is very. But then I like what Sheyi Akiwumi mentioned, that Africa is really not the problem of the Super Falcons. It's getting to the world stage and getting to the quarterfinals, which we've done only just once in the Women's World Cup, and that is what really matters most. Like I mentioned, it's become pretty predictable in Africa.
What do you think has been holding the Super Falcons back from really taking the world stage?
Well, I mentioned competition in Africa. The competition hasn't been so impressive. We only look forward to seeing the likes of probably Equatorial Guinea, Ghana giving us some competition. But now the likes of South Africa, Cameroon, even Mali, as much as we beat them 6-0, are playing better in women's football at the moment. So that competition is really needed. I guess I think going to the World Cup most of the time, I think we fear the big names, you know, getting into the groups with the likes of Germany, Brazil, Canada, you know, really big names in women's football all around the world. And most of the time, I must say, we've had some coaches that have not been quite impressive going to the world stage. Of course, you have to test the exposure. Yes, that exposure. Everyone needs that exposure, but competition is really, really needed. Like I mentioned, the support.
And that's a confidence builder.
Support as well is really needed for these coaches as well, getting training, not just the players. It's a whole combination of different things. The players getting best playing time in their clubs, the coaches getting the desired and necessary training as well. So all that is really needed. Support financially, morally, from the Football Federation, from Nigerians going into the World Cup as well. All that is needed. Hopefully in the next Women's World Cup we can make a mark.
Okay, let's look at the performance at the group stages. I know that, of course, Nigeria is leading at Group B.
Yeah, of course, we topped Group B.
Yes.
Yes, I think it was a competitive group, especially with Ghana. Yes, Ghana was the competition, the main competition in the group. And at a point, it looked like the Super Falcons might have finished second in the group. And if we had somehow would have faced Cameroon in the semi-finals, so we would have been seeing in Nigeria-Cameroon final this time. So it was a competitive group. Kudos to Ghana, I must say. They put up a really, really good fight. Kenya, I must say, it was, you know, debutants in the competition for the very first time. Also showed some impressive signs, as much as the Super Falcons beat them 4-0, but it shows that African football is improving. Kenya at least getting to the competition for the first time. Hopefully we'll see more of them. And likes of Equatorial Guinea, who somehow didn't make it this time, but one of the powerhouses in women's football as well. Yeah, so it's looking really good. It's looking good in Africa at the moment.
All right, let us assume that God answers the prayer of Ngozi and
your prayer too.
And I'm sure I'm not the only one praying, you can be sure of that.
But I know the Cameroonians also pray. But let us assume that the Super Falcons win the match and then wins the championship and come home. What are the benefits accruable to them? What's expected for them to get?
First of all, of course, we know winning a a trophy or win a title brings bragging rights. Of course, 10-time champions, that shows a lot. But then going to what they are being paid by the Football Federation, or what they might get as incentives or no, we might not exactly know. But, you know, talking about support generally, I think these ladies deserve all that they need, all that they can get, whether they even win or not. Getting here, it just shows how impressive this team has been. Not just impressive, consistent. For over, this is the 12th edition of the AWCON Men's Championship, and they have won it 9 times already. So it's really, really impressive.
Would you say that the Falcons, the Super Falcons, are making female football look good in such a way that it would even attract young girls out there who are wondering, you know, if it's a career they actually want to take up?
Yes, of course. We've seen a lot of young ladies going into clubs right now, going into trying to push into the under-17, under-20. So it's really, really attractive. A lot of people look up to the likes of Asisat Oshuala, who is the biggest name in probably African football at the moment, not just playing for Arsenal, but made a mark at the under-20 Women's World Cup a few years ago, was the best player of the tournament, scored most goals in the tournament, at the last edition of the African Cup of Nations as well. So she's very consistent, playing regularly for her club as well, Arsenal. It's very, very, very big. So people look forward to, you know, look up to these names, look up to the likes of Perpetua Nkwocha, the legends of the game, the Messi Akides. So yes, it's very encouraging. I wish I could play football, but unfortunately I can't.
You can start training, I must say. You can start training.
I think I'm too old for that now.
It's not too late. Ngozi would also like to maybe coach.
I pass.
Okay.
She could be a coach.
You could be a coach.
Okay, maybe
but what
you'll
be doing is just praying for them. Pray for them. Just pray for them. Touch their legs and pray for them.
Give them moral support. That's good enough.
All right, so let's get into the issue of the publicity for female football. It's not just even about Nigeria. It's not just even about African Championship. If we look at the level of Olympics, if you see the level of the World Cup generally, if you see the publicity and everything that goes into the main competition, it's not the same thing when you're staging the competition for the women. Why do we have that kind of circumstance? It's
not the same thing. It's not even half as supported, not just financially, but just like you mentioned, the publicity as well. I remember at the last Women's World Cup last year, for the first time, we saw the best crowd in women's football. So it's beginning to progress, but of course, it's not where it should be. Women's football has been underestimated, I must say. A lot of people just, you know, assume it's women's football. What would they play? Would it be entertaining? But a lot of people, after they watch 1 or 2 games of women's football, realize, wow, it's actually really interesting. And that, I think it's just for the federations, FIFA, CAF, confederations all over the world to publicize it themselves, put it in people's faces, put it in the fans'
and speaking of
faces.
that, you wonder how many of these stars of ours, Asisat, Desire Paranoze, Ngozi Okobi that you mentioned, and all of the rest of them are actually getting endorsements, you know, like you have in the male
Of course,
teams.
a lot of them, few of them get endorsements, but it's not, you know, blown like it is for the men, and it's really unfortunate. But women's football all around the world, I must say, is improving in the last 1-2 years. In Africa, I must say I am impressed by the Cameroonian fans flooding the stadium. I am very, very impressive. Somehow I couldn't be in Cameroon, but seeing it on TV, I have never seen stadiums so, you know, so packed for women's football before. And gathering from reports from people in Cameroon also, we hear that the Cameroonian fans are really rooting for their team, have been swamping the stadiums even when their teams aren't playing as well. So it's really improving. But of course, like I mentioned, federations need to get these things in our faces.
Absolutely.
Now, we know that Nigeria dominating the competition for close to 10 times now, close to 10 times. If they win this one, it's going to make it 10 times.
Yeah.
We certainly know that a lot of people outside Nigeria are going to say, it's almost becoming predictable. Anytime Nigerians are there, you just know, okay, fine, they're taking it home. But in the spirit of competition, that's predictability. Should it be there?
Is it a good thing?
Is it a good thing? Exactly. I like the word, Ngozi. Thank you.
Of course,
is it a good thing to just predict? You just know these people are just going to win.
It's not exactly a good thing because, like I mentioned before, the Super Falcons have been lacking competition in Africa. But then, looking from the performances we've seen so far in this championship, we didn't have a landslide victory against South Africa in the semi-finals. It was very tough playing against Ghana as well. So it shows that it's getting quite tougher. The Super Falcons, like I mentioned before, are playing in their 10th final and are going to
Do you see any weak points in the Super Falcons that may just mar it for them?
Yes, I do. Sometimes the defense goes to sleep, I must say, and as much as we have conceded just one goal, I think the midfield is also lacking. The transition from the midfield to the attack as well is lacking, and knowing the Cameroonian side, which really dominates the midfield, that could be a break point for the Super Falcons, and a very, very physical, very physical Cameroonian side. If the Nigerians are not careful, maybe someone could get sent off as well. They have a lot of antics in the box as well, so it's easy to concede penalties against them. So the Super Falcons really need to be careful against that so as not to concede penalties. Really.
Wow, it's all right, Biola. Thank you. But let me put you on the spot here.
Who do you
think? Let me put you on the spot here.
Will carry the day?
Well, Ngozi has said Nigeria. Ngozi has said Nigeria will win. She said so. But what do you think the goal line will be?
Well, I do not expect a landslide victory from anywhere. It will not be totally, there won't be a really margin. So I expect probably a 2-1 victory for the Super Falcons.
So Super Falcons.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you're throwing the line of Ngozi there.
All right, we'll be looking out for that one at the Ahmadu Ahijo Stadium in Cameroon. That will be tomorrow. It will be the cracker, the final of the final. Will the Super Falcons make it for the 10th time? Will they automatically keep the cup?
I guess so, yes.
Okay.
It's
we'll just write Nigeria on it. It belongs to
Nigeria.
That's it.
There you go.
All right, let's round off this now. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll be dwelling on another topic.
Biola Mowanle, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Always good to be here.
Thank you.
Hopefully the Super Falcons win tomorrow.